Good evening, and thanks as always for joining us here on Speed Racing Network. I'm Greg Olenek, joined by Curtis Swatsworth here tonight. Curtis, welcome. Night number 3 here at Kentucky Speedway. Been a wild first 2 nights as it's the cutoff race to get into the championship race. So a lot on the line tonight. It's going to be a lot of white knuckle and driving for the 110 laps here in Sparta.
What's going on, Greg? What's going on, everybody out there? I think it's going to be exciting out here at Kentucky. These guys are whipping it around this track. There's a lot on the line for a lot of different drivers. You got drivers that are outside the cut line that are going to be trying to get their way to the front and get as many points as they can. Then you got those drivers that are going to be out front in the point standings trying to hold on to those positions. And third, fourth, and fifth in the standings are separated by 3 points total. So it's going to be pretty big here.
Yeah, so let's take a look at those points. Seth Berger and Seth Reed, both the Seths have just been pretty dominant here early on in the playoffs and all the way throughout here. So expect to see the same here tonight here at Kentucky Speedway. Kyle Benson, though, with a 10-point gap over the cut line. He's got to be a little bit on edge here tonight. Larch there in fourth, who's had a surprising run here lately. When you think of the JW camp, you weren't expecting Larch to be the only one sitting here in the top 5, but he's got a 9-point gap over that cut line. And Max Service sitting there in 5th. I like to call him Mr. Consistency there in the 89. He's got an 8-point gap over that 6th place driver. That is Jacob Manning. So look at the names there. You got Jacob Manning back here, Joseph Causey, as well as Tristan Bailey back there in 10th. Nathan De La Rosa and Logan Truitt also well in the mix here tonight as well. But man, 3 of the big hitters early on in the regular season facing elimination here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to come down to every position being counted as far as trying to get in. I mean, Manning, 8 points back from the cutoff line. Service, 8 points up. So, I mean, that's going to be a close one. If Manning does what he has been doing, which is he consistently finishes in the top 3. If Service slips and falls outside the top 10 by the time we get to the end of this thing and Manning's in that top 3 slot, it's going to come down to, the slimmest margin, 1 point separating possibly. And then Kazi's sitting there with 11. If Max Service has a horrible night and slips to the bottom, he's got to overcome and beat out Manning. Well, he's only got 3 points to, behind Manning, but Larch and Service are by no means safe. And Benson, we've seen him wreck out of a couple races, getting caught up in other people's messes. So if he goes to the back and ends up being in the 20s or right around the 18-15 mark, and Kazi and Manning, go up to the top 10 where they're normally found at the end of a race, Larch and Benson and Service, they're going to have to scratch for every single thing and make sure that they are as safe as possible tonight before this race is over.
Yeah, so you also got to take note, though, of the smaller field, too, tonight. 21 cars in the field. So, you got to be careful not to fall too far back. And it's going to be hard for some of these guys to pick up enough spots to cover this gap and put some distance between these guys that are with them here in the top 10. So we'll see how it works out. But you were talking about Jacob Manning there. You could just hear the dejection last week in his voice, and he's been talking about it in Discord as well. Just a silly mistake on pit road where he passed a lap down car under yellow, entered the pits, and that is a big 26-second hold by iRacing there. So unfortunately, he fell that lap down and finished 17th last week, which is why he's out on the outside looking in tonight. So we'll see which one of these guys might be able to spoil the party, or if we get multiple flip-flops here, somebody goes in and out here tonight, we will find out by the end of this broadcast. So let's go ahead and check out the Tier 2 championship as well. We're going to go ahead and narrow it down to the cars that still remain in contention here. Drew Ballesteros out in the lead here by a healthy margin now, 26 points over Aaron Gerwitz there. And you got Brandon Domain, Bo Tiffany there tied in third, 30 points back, and Danny Dow rounding out the top 5 here, 32 points back. So some of these guys are going to have to get going. It's been hard, though, with how well that 54 has been running.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks ever since Drew was eliminated that, he's the one that he's going to go into this with a huge chip on his shoulder. He's really wanting to prove that, if he was here and he was able to make the first race of the first round, he possibly could be moving on to the championship after tonight if he would have stayed, if he'd have been here. So It's heartbreaking that he wasn't able to be here, but he's still got a part to play in it. He can come out here and grab wins. He can come out here and take positions away from guys who really need those points, and he's not giving up anything.
Yeah, so we'll see if he keeps that streak on. I'm just putting distance between him and the rest of the field here tonight. Let's go ahead and check out that team championship here, because that's going to be wrapping up tonight as well. The last race of the Fast Four, Kentucky Speedway. You got Tank Racing going up against JBR there, the 1-4 matchup, and then the 2-3 matchup here between JW Racing and Murray Reedy Motorsports. So let's go ahead and check out that 1v4 matchup right now. A 60-point gap for Tank Racing over JBR. It's just really hard to make up any ground on these guys when they're finishing as well as they are week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean, this was a good race last week for him. You know, Berger had a little bit of an issue. Service, you know, we saw him at the lead at one point, and then he fell through the field. Lipicki was able to stay right there in the top 10 or top 15 and get them some more points. And you know, Logan Truitt had a not a terrible race, but I mean, he finished 15th, and Marcy wound up having some issues. We saw him spin across the front stretch at one point, and he finished 20th. So De La Rosa trying everything he can, and so was Truitt, but it's just not enough when you got Tank Racing, who's just so good.
Yeah, they're just always running up towards the front and are determined to take that Xfinity.
That's not even counting Kazi's points.
Yeah, I know. He's surprisingly not listed on there this time around, but they tied with JW Racing last season when it came down to the championship at the end. So looking like there might be another rematch on hand, but Murray Reedy Motorsports still hanging strong. If Tristan Bailey and Tyler Murray can get going here, who knows what could happen.
Yeah, Tristan's been kind of a problem, not by himself. It's been more of just simple mistakes, things like that just really have kept him towards the back the last couple of weeks, which has hurt him in his personal battle with going for the points to go in the championship, but it's hurting his team as well. And Benson's doing everything possible the last 2 weeks, staying in the top 5, which is what I said Bailey needed, was another teammate to step up and be there, and Benson did it. Bailey just has slipped down to the bottom, and JW Racing, it's funny to see Larch at the top and not Manning and Ballesteros. But Larch put on one great race last week and brought it home second. So,
yeah, and I mean, Michael Larch has been a very surprising and steady driver. Not counting the playoffs, points-wise, he's 7th overall and having a great run lately. 2nd last week in Nashville, and then he was 8th at Chicago. And so, yeah, this round he's been pretty stout, averaging an average finish of 5.0 through these 2 races. So definitely, well, within contention of moving on for Mr. Larch. But yeah, if he gets his teammates going here, it's going to be a tough night for Murray Reedy Motorsports to try to make up anything, even though it's just a 26-point gap. So just under 2 minutes left in qualifying. Let's go ahead and check out our sponsors as always here on Speed Racing Network. You got Silverback Tax Solutions. Go ahead and check them out at silverbacktax.com if you have any issues with the IRS whatsoever. Sparkle and Shine Mobile Detailing coming on board this season to sponsor the Rec Replay. Go ahead, check them out if you want to get that car all cleaned up here this summer. Butt Kicker coming on board to sponsor the Hard Charger Award. That's pretty much wrapped up here in the Xfinity Series. We'll get to those standings here in just a second. TJ's Team Foundation over at morethanacape.org as well, sponsoring each and every race's winning moment. Go ahead and check them out. Like I said, morethanacape.org. Donate anything you can, or just spread the word about this awesome foundation. So let's go ahead and check out Butt Kicker here. And this is what these guys are racing for. That Butt Kicker Gamer 2. Nice piece of equipment here. And Curtis, I think this one's all wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, Spees, he's missed the last couple of races, and he's still got an 11-point advantage over James Kerr, who hasn't been here as well. Hedgecock he's missed a few races. I think.
Yeah, he's been out lately.
De La Rosa and Benson have been the 2 that have been most consistently here, but they keep qualifying, and the only way to catch him is to not qualify. And Spees did that pretty much most of the season, just starting at the back.
Yeah, and I don't even think there is any feasible way for James Kerr, considering he's not even in the field here tonight, to catch him. I don't see Kyle Spees out there either. So none of those drivers out there. Hedgecock's not sure he's out there either. So the whole top 3 not even out there. Nathan De La Rosa, though, he is out there for sure, because he is one of our playoff drivers trying to get in that final 5. So looking like qualifying all wrapped up here at Kentucky Speedway. Let's get out there to the track for race number 3 here in the round of 10. It's going to be an exciting 110 laps here. One of my favorite tracks, Curtis.
Yeah, I mean Kentucky. It's that bluegrass, style, D-shaped. It's not. It's that Darrell Waltrip style, and that's why I kind of always put it to him because it's the D shape, and he always talks about it before about throwing the extra loop in the front stretch to where it's not a straightaway. It's kind of an arc, and it's the same as last week. I'm not very good at Kentucky. I wasn't very good at the one we were at last week, but I do enjoy driving this track. It's actually really fun to drive. I just can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's a really fun track in my opinion. Either you love it or you hate it. Two very opposite ends of the track, and the man that's dominating both ends of the track going to be Seth Reed. He's been on a tear here in the playoffs. Like we said, he's starting on the pole here tonight with a time of 30.766 and just 500s off the pole. Is the man that needs every point he can get here tonight. Jacob Manning, he's going to start outside row number 1. Matthew Robinson, Zach Deuscher, 2 non-playoff drivers here in row 2, and Kyle Benson and Brandon Domain in row 3.
And we got Drew Ballesteros, who's fighting for that second chance championship in 7th. Tristan Bailey, who's going to start not as high as I thought he would be able to get at Kentucky, but he's going to be on the outside of Drew Ballesteros in 8th. Seth Berger, who's currently your points leader, sitting in 9th. Logan Truitt, 10th. Michael Larch, who we just talked about, needs to have a good night tonight to stay in that top 5. He's sitting 11th. Nathan De La Rosa, 12th. Max Service, who also, just like Michael Larch, we said, needs to have a good night or at least stay right around those guys who are right behind him in the points to stay where he needs to be able to go to the next round. He's going to be starting 13th with Bo Tiffany on his outside.
Yeah, take a look down there in 20th. You got Joseph Causey. He's going to be the last playoff driver on the grid here back there, way back there, looking like he did not get to put a time in 9 seconds off the pace. But the pace is being set now as these cars are starting to pull off. Seth Reed going to lead them off behind that iRacing pace car. As always, Curtis, I'm going to give you first dibs. Who are you thinking about picking here tonight?
I don't know. I'm probably going to have to steal Reed from you and go with the 81. This is kind of a track that when I first came in, this is the style you guys were running that night, and I didn't know anybody really that was in the league. I hadn't watched it, and I had just went out and picked Seth, and he brought it home. So winning last week, I think he's kind of on a roll, and Manning, I think, is going to try to put up as much of a fight, but I'm going to go with Reed this week, so nobody can say anything about me picking a JW driver again.
All right, I like that pick, and I think I'm going to go with the man starting there in the 50. I'm going Jacob Manning to possibly upset somebody
It'll be
here.
your fault this time.
No, man, it's never my fault, man. There's no such thing as a broadcaster's curse, but we're taking the front row here tonight, and I think those are 2 very wise picks. So
I think 51 might be fast tonight, too. I wouldn't sleep on Matthew Robinson or Benson or Ballesteros sitting there as well. And Berger's always dangerous, so.
Well, there you have it. So keep an eye on all these drivers here. They're going to be trying to race for a lot of cash here tonight. A shot at $500 on the line as we are green here in Kentucky.
Yeah, and they got that big arch through the front stretch, and now they're coming into turn 1 and 2. Reed's going to take it on the low side. Manning going to duck in behind him with the 51, who I believe is a JW Racing teammate. So you got 3 teammates there in the top 6 or top 7.
Yeah, they come right at you here on the backstretch. Not a very big field, but a fast field. Nonetheless, that's going to be led by Seth Reed here as they complete the first lap of this race. Gets really loose off of 4. It's very easy to do here in these Xfinity cars. As always, the low spoiler there on the back. You're trying to get everything you can here on cold tires. Easy for these cars to step out.
Yeah, every time we come to a track like this with the low spoiler, but you still have the speed that you have at some of the bigger tracks, you always see guys getting loose coming out of the corner. Just the downforce package and everything that's put into these cars for different tracks with those lower spoilers and everything, it makes it hard. But there's one, 89, Max Service going around with another 2-3 cars.
Yeah, Danny Dow also involved in this too, Chris Bishop, but that's a playoff driver there that's inside the cut line. Looking like that car might be pretty clean still. A little bit of damage there on the left front that he can probably get cleaned up. But, yeah, not what you want here.
That Kazi that was involved in that too?
Looks like he entered pit lane. Wow, big damage for Kazi there.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is good news for Kazi and Jacob Manning with service being involved in this, but not so good for Kazi since he was also involved.
Let's go.
I've seen somebody get loose on that outside line, and it just bottled up.
Let's take a look at the Sparkle and Shine mobile detail and rec replay. Started with max service there getting loose, and all these cars bunching up. Nowhere for Kazi to go, and it's just going to end that quickly here tonight. Big damage for the 42.
Yeah, I thought he was cleared, and then that 21 of Dow got shot up the track as Kazi avoided everything that was happening on the bottom and just went right into him. And then at that point, I think Kazi was still in the gas and ran right into the other guy.
A little help there from the 35 of Josh Marcy. Yeah, it sent the 89 spinning, so I think that one's going to go on the 35 here.
And is Marcy, is he in the playoffs still?
No, he's not. He is not in these playoffs, but yeah, we'll take a closer look here. Right and above the 89. The 35 just gets into him there. No net code or anything. That's solid contact, and then nowhere for these guys to go.
No, Kazi, I mean, you know he saw the C split. He saw the sun shining in front of him, was like, oh, I'm cleared. And here comes the 21 with nothing. I mean, nothing the 21 did wrong, and nothing Kazi did wrong. He thought he was cleared. He saw the opening on the outside, and all of a sudden the 21 just got shot to the outside right in front of him, and nowhere to go.
So there you see the penalty being handed down for Josh Marcy here in the 35. He's going to receive the EOL penalty. Go to the back of this 21-car field here early on. Only the top 12 staying out right now. Daniel Keith going to be the first one coming out on fresh tires. So while we have time here, we're going to step aside, run a quick commercial, and come right back with that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag. Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you. All right, well, the pace car lights quickly off. We're going to get this thing kicked back off here on lap number 6 and hopefully keep this thing green all the way to the end. I'm excited to see some good side-by-side action here at Kentucky Speedway. So your leader still Seth Reed. Jacob Manning going to be starting second. Seth opting to take the outside lane here on row number 1. It's kind of a trend we've seen all week long in all 3 of the series. You got Matthew Robinson, Kyle Benson, row 2, Drew Ballesteros, and Zach Deutscher are going to be in row number 3, with Seth Berger, Brandon Domain in row 4, Logan Truitt, and Tristan Bailey there in row 5. So Tristan already losing 2 positions back to 10th, possibly a tactic to maybe fall back and save a little bit if this thing does tend to stay green. So that pace car going to go ahead, dip down pit road, and that Silverback Tax Solutions green flag is going to be waving here. It's Seth Reed catches him sleeping here on the first restart of the night.
Yeah, Reed had a great jump there and slid right down in front of the 50. And yeah, I don't think the 50 was ready for it, because Reed, and we've seen him do this in other races where he just goes when people just don't think you're going to go, and he just disappears on everybody, and he's so fast off the start. We talked to him last week, and he said about saving and listening to the broadcast every week of me saying, he needs to learn how to save instead of going out there with, burning the tires off. And he did that last week, so came away with the win. We'll see if he's able to do it this week. When you can mix the 2 skills you need to be able to be out front like this with speed and then being able to save, that's a dangerous combination for him to figure out late in the season like this. And 2 wins already in the playoffs, dangerous going into a championship.
Yeah, and, I got to talk to Seth early on in the season as he won the first race of the season at Daytona. Got to talk to him in the Gearing Up segment, and I could just tell how determined he was after missing out on his chance last year to make the Final Five. He wants to make it really bad this year and win it, looking like he can possibly do just that really fast here this season. Let's go take a look further on the back here. Tristan Bailey has moved up 2 spots since the restart. He's quickly making work of Seth Berger now, the 77 machine. He's going to go to the inside here.
Yeah, I don't know what some of these guys are doing. Some of them look like they're kind of conserving. Some of them look like they're just going all out. But there's a few that I can't tell if they're saving or if they're just not having good lap times with cars around them. You know, it's a little different going out there and laying down a hot lap and qualifying with nobody around you. But once you get cars around you and the air is pushing on the spoiler, it's pushing on the side of the car, you got to slow up. Your let-off points are a little different than other drivers. It gets a little bit hard to figure out how to find that line in between where you really know you're fast and where you got to be able to go with cars around you.
Good battle back here for 7th. You got 3 playoff drivers that are battling amongst each other. Seth Berger not too worried here with the cut line this week. He's still got a healthy gap with the way he's been running during these playoffs. Seth with that 21-point gap. He's feel all right racing back here in 7th. But there you got Tristan Bailey and Logan Truitt right behind him. 2 drivers here needing to make up every possible point they can get. So look for these two to be racing hard, trying to get by the 77.
Yeah, and I mean, Truitt, large service, they're going to have to get up in front of some of these guys. Benson, Manning, I mean, they're up here in the top 3. So if those guys that are back here in the 10 to 15, 10 to 20 range, if they want to be able to make the playoffs and make the next round in the playoffs to go to the championship, they're going to have to step it up. Maybe switch up strategy, try to stay out a little longer or short pit. Just something. Get off the same strategy as the guys that you're racing against for the points. It's the only way to be different. If you don't, you're just going to follow them around the track until the race ends.
Following him around the track is Matthew Robinson right on the bumper of Kyle Benson. Matthew looking really fast here tonight. It's good to see him really mixing it up with our leaders here after not having the second half of the season. He was probably hoping to have, wow, he's really close here to Kyle Benson as they enter turn 3 and go out of turn 4 here. Not going to have the advantage, though, on the exit. These two battling for 3rd place here as they're starting to run down Jacob Manning, too. Further on back here, Nathan De La Rosa side by side with Brandon Domain. Brandon's lost 5 positions since the start here. Taking care of his stuff, I imagine, letting everybody go by. Michael Larch just behind him, too. Got to keep an eye on him. He's running in the 12th position with that 9-point gap over the cut line. So Michael Larch down 1 position, started the night in 11th. He's going to have to pick up a few spots to feel comfortable with his chances here tonight.
Yeah, and you were talking about Manning. I think Manning might be backing it off a little bit and letting Reed go out there. Let Reed run out there and do what Reed's done for most of the season, which is, go out there and burn his stuff off. However, Reed, like I said earlier, has learned a little bit from listening to our broadcast that he's got to be a little bit more conservative. So I want to say this is Manning backing up to his teammates. He's got 2 or 3 of them there right behind him to where he can just ride for a little while. We're early in the race, 15 laps out of 110. There's no rush. The only problem is if Reed gets out there far enough and green flag stops continue to happen throughout this race, you're going to have to change strategies. Like I said about the other guys, they got to get on a different cycle than what the leader's on then, or again, you're just going to follow him to the end of the race. Now, he's in 2nd, Greg, so I think he's done enough to probably move up in front. He was only 8 points back from the position he needs to get, and those guys are back in the 15s.
Yeah, 2nd's got to feel pretty good, but you want to get those bonus points. He's yet to lead a lap out in front yet, so hasn't accrued any. Well, with the clean race so far through 16 laps, he'll have a bonus point with that, but he's going to need every point he can get, so can't let Seth Reed get too far out as the 81 put another 1/10 of a second on that 50. So Benson right on the bumper of Jacob Manning here. All four of these guys really close to one another.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are all stacked on top of each other. It's one line, one car after another right here. And Reed's got that gap, so I don't know if I would let Reed get away. We've seen him do it in previous races where he's gotten away, and then it's been hard to catch him when it goes green. But, I mean, there's a lot of heavy hitters right here in the top 10. We see it week in and week out throughout these playoffs. There's a lot of green in the top 10. And if you look now, you've only got 3 red in there. So there's a lot of guys fighting for 5 positions, and all 7 of the guys in the top 10 right now can't make it. Only 5 can.
Yeah, so that is going to start to ramp up in these guys' head here as these laps start to tick off, getting off to a nice little green flag run here after restarting this race on lap 6. Logan Truitt moving on by Zach Deutscher there not too long ago, bringing Seth Berger up there with him. So Logan now up to 7. He's got Tristan Bailey just in front of him up in 6th. So a few of these guys starting to make their way up through the field here as they're saving a little bit more than the rest of these guys. Michael Larch going by Zach Deutscher now too.
And I'm wondering when pit stops will happen. We're only 19 laps into the run. I think the total for this should be, 35, 38, possibly somewhere in there. So
I think that's about
I'm wondering if anybody will try to short pit. With it only being 110 laps, you could do it in, 3 stops. Or 2 stops, but I don't know. I don't know if it's better to short pit and try to come out and run a little bit faster than everybody else, and in the long run, them come back on you, or if it's better to try to run it completely out of fuel and then have those fresher tires while everybody else has been out there for a few laps and you run them back down. Does it pay off to be the guy that goes out there and runs as fast as possible and changes up everything, or is it better to have the carrot out in front of you and you chase that carrot?
That made me a little nervous right there, but I think I would want to stay out there as long as possible here. Maybe a different strategy during the regular season, but I think it changes here in the playoffs. I think you got to play the safe route of staying out, taking as many laps as you can, and kind of getting that edge of fresher tires than everybody else that does attempt a short pit strategy here. So I think tonight it's going to shape up well for a few of these guys to maybe stay out a little longer than the rest of the field, and I think it is going to be a 2-stop race here tonight. So a good battle here between Truitt and Berger, battling for that 7th position. Truitt able to maintain it here over the 77 of Seth Berger. This is currently the closest battle on track.
Yeah, fastest car on the track, though, is Tristan Bailey in that 88 black and gold car. He's about a tenth faster than Drew, who's in front of him. He is about close to a tenth faster than Reed, who's out front, distanced himself almost to a second now. So I think there's a few guys who are just kind of waiting and seeing what happens here. Tristan, obviously, we talked about it early in the race. He has a very slim chance to move up and go to the next round for the championship, with being 22 points back and only having 21 cars in the field. It's very unlikely. I mean, he's going to have to go out there and get a point. He's going to have to get the incident-free point. He's going to have to get the bonus for winning, most laps led point. I mean, there's so many points that he's got to stack up, and he didn't get the pole. So there's a point that he already lost already for this race. So he's got to have all of that, plus he's got to have at least one guy in the top 5 have a horrible night and beat out the 4 guys in front of him. So there's a lot for him to be able to get there.
He's giving it his best effort, so you got to give him some credit. Making his way on up through the field, currently riding behind Drew Ballesteros there in the 54 with Kyle Benson just in front of him. We just saw the 54 pass his teammate Matthew Robinson not too long ago, so looking like Ballesteros pretty quick right now as he runs down Kyle Benson.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about Tristan, I definitely got to give him credit. A lot of guys in leagues, when it gets closer to the point when they figure out that they either A, don't make the playoffs, or don't make the next round in the playoffs, or don't have a chance for the championship, you see a lot of guys leave the league and, just miss races. And Tristan, even though he's probably done the math and he can figure it out, he's still out here battling for his team championship, as you just pulled up the team championship points. So, he's still here for his team, and that's, even if he can't win it by himself, he's here to win it with his team for the team championship. And I think that's pretty cool for him to do that. That's a lot of credit to his character to stay in the league and run for the entire season, even though he might miss out on the championship.
Yeah, and these are the two teams that are on your screen right now. Drew Ballesteros races for JW Racing, and the other two, Benson and Tristan Bailey, race for Murray Reedy Motorsports. So an MRMS sandwich right now with Ballesteros in the middle. Jacob Manning just in front of him. So these guys kind of canceling each other out right now as they run second, third, fourth, and fifth. So good night, though, for JW as Michael Large back there in the seventh. So it's going to be a tough night, like I said, for Murray Reedy to possibly have a chance. Their next highest running driver. Trying to look down the list.
They got
Chris
Benson
Bishop.
third, Bishop all the way down.
Yeah, 18th. So he is not going to be helping the crew out, but still, a lot can happen in these last 80 laps. So great battle right here for third. Trying to take a look down the pylon. Not much else happening right now. This is the closest battle on the track. Kyle Benson trying to hold off these two for third.
And Benson, like I said, he needs a steady race. He just can't have any, big mess ups. He can't get caught up in anybody else's stuff. So him sitting here at third, this is the best thing he could possibly do to help himself get over into that next round. He does have a little bit of a buffer with 10 points, but with 20 cars in the field, if he fell, to 18th and somebody else got up here to second, he could miss out his chance of getting to the playoffs. And he's doing everything right now. He's steady. He's not making any, drastic moves. He's not fighting off guys. He's just kind of running his race, and whatever happens, happens. He just needs to stay in front of those guys that he's battling for those positions.
So riding on board here with Tristan Bailey in fifth place. I think he's just kind of riding in line with these guys here as we are on the green flag run we anticipated before the race with a smaller field out there tonight. 21 cars in this field, only 19 out there on the track right now as Joseph Causey still on pit road. So 42 big time damage. His playoff hopes are dashed in the Xfinity series here. Was eliminated in the Cup series earlier in the week. Unfortunately eliminated again here tonight. So not the way Causey was hoping to have his season end here tonight, but still I know he's going to come back strong at Homestead with the possibility of Tank Racing for that team championship.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much sucks for Causey right now. I mean, I know he's had a bad week with missing 2 of the championship rounds, and this is going to be the third. It's rough. He's been very, very clean all season. He's been a great asset to the league, being able to run in multiple series. He's been fast. He's won, and he's a tough driver to beat. So to get caught up in somebody else's mess tonight, and there's nothing he could do about it, it's got to be rough sitting on pit road waiting for that car to be fixed. I'm kind of glad he hasn't left the race and just given up. He's waiting for that car to try to be fixed and come out here, try to gain some more points. But, I mean, he's already 29 laps down. It would be pretty big. I mean, if Service and Large got knocked out and went more laps down than he did, if they were completely out of the race, then it's possible he could, gain that extra points, but there's a lot of points you need to grab here.
Yeah, so Tank with a 60-point gap in the team championship, feeling good so far. They've got Logan Truitt, though, and Nathan De La Rosa for JBR having good nights, 8th and 10th for their guys over there in the JBR camp. But Tank Racing still doing pretty well themselves. Seth Berger up in that 6th position. Mike Lepicki there in the 13th. Max Service, though, struggling. He's still back there in the 16th position. Hasn't been able to make much ground here for the 89 machine.
No, he hasn't made up too much. I mean, Seth, he's more methodical. We've talked about him before. He really conserves and then comes on late in the runs, but I mean, we're 34 laps in the run. I thought the fuel mileage would be between 35 and 40, so if that's the case, we're going to see green flag stops coming up soon, and he hasn't really made up a whole lot of positions. I mean, a lot of the guys in the top 10 haven't really been big movers or nothing. I mean, our biggest mover is, down. So Zach Duscher starting 4th, and he's down to 12th, and Domain started 6th, and he's down to 11th. So There's definitely a few going the wrong direction. Not too many going the other way, though.
Yeah, so this battle's still heating up here for third as Seth Reed starting to see that gap shrink from Jacob Manning on back. Jacob now 0.6 of a second back of the 81, starting to run him down here late in this run. So I think that's going to really prompt Seth Reed to possibly come down and maybe come down before 50.
I think Reed, I mean, they're running real close lap times. Manning's about 4/100ths faster than Reed is, which, I mean, it's not that much. It would take a lot of laps if he continues to run that to catch him, but I don't know. If I was Reed, I would probably try to pit before Manning, but that's tough when you're still out front with a good gap.
Yeah, so taking a look, only 0.6 of a second a difference there in the lap time. So both these guys pretty much matching each other when it comes to lap times out there. Looks like they got a lap down car coming up. I believe that's going to be Danny Dow. Not sure, actually, it might be Chris Bishop. I think it's going to be Chris Bishop, and I think Seth Reed, wow. Wasn't sure of which side he was going to be on there, but goes by cleanly here. Jacob Manning going to try and go by here in turn 1.
Yeah, Manning looking good. Benson still sitting there third. Bailey up to fourth. Ballesteros fifth. Berger sixth. Larch seventh. Truitt 8th. De La Rosa 9th. Robinson has fallen back to 10th, starting out third. I feel like he was probably running his tires a little harder than everybody else to start this race. That's really the only thing I can see on why he slipped back so far. I wouldn't think, I mean, he's a good driver, so I wouldn't think he would be just getting passed like it was nothing. I just feel like a couple guys went out there and ran a little harder than others, and they're definitely losing positions. I mean, like I said, Robinson's back 7 positions, Domaine's back 7 positions. So there's definitely a few guys that are going out there and maybe not running this track exactly how you should be running it, which I don't know how to run it either. So,
well, Seth Berger, he seems to know how to run it as he's caught this pack that's been battling for third for however many laps now. Seems to have gone on forever, it seems like. He's getting in on the mix now as he's running down the 54 here.
Berger's that driver that I talked about before. He conserves and conserves and conserves, and then he has a flip in the switch, and he just starts picking guys off, and he's really good at it. It's showed up the last 10 weeks where he's gotten those 5 wins, or 5 or 6 wins, whatever it was. I think it was 4 or 5 in a row at one point. So he's figured it out. He's gotten really good at conserving, but he's got the speed to go with it, and he's better in the later part of the run. He's not the guy like Reed who goes out there fast to start off the race and gets out there. Berger's the one that runs him down. So I almost feel like it's better for Berger to have that carrot out in front of him for him to chase it, and Reed wants to be the one to be chased. So we'll see where Berger ends up here, but he's battling with Ballesteros and Bailey and Benson, so he's trying to get to third.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like he is thinking about pitting anytime soon. Was trying to, wow, and Larch, a really close moment with Chris Bishop back there. That is a dicey moment as he cannot afford any mistakes out here, but we're seeing pit stops kick off as we saw Jacob Manning pitting last lap from second place here. So Benson takes over second, and he's been loving what he's seeing behind him because he's kind of been able to put a 3.5 of a second gap between him and Tristan Bailey here.
Yeah, I mean, Reed's loving it. I think Reed's on the strategy of run this thing completely out and see how far I can get on everybody, and then maybe change it up the next green flag stop. Manning, Bailey, Ballesteros, they're all guys who I assumed would pit before Reed to try to get those fresher tires on there and run that extra second and a half faster than Reed. But we'll see where this whole thing shakes up. This green flag stop's really going to show who's got the speed to be able to stay up here with Reed.
Hey, I like that. That rhymed. So, yeah, it looks like Kyle Benson going to come down this time, and as well as Seth Reed. Seth Reed pitting from the lead. I can do it too, Curtis. So the 81 coming down for 4 tires of fuel.
Dr. Seuss would be so proud of both of us.
He taught us well. So that's going to give the lead back to the 77 of Seth Berger. He's going to get that bonus point here tonight. Not that he really needed it. Still a 21-point gap between him and that cutoff line. With 21 cars in the field here tonight, I'm thinking he has all but clinched a spot in the final 5. But still, wants to win it here tonight. Why not? He's going to come down pit road this time.
And I think we need to look at the back of Bailey's car. It looks like Bailey has got some damage to that rear end. So I don't know where that came from, if that came from the start of the race or somewhere else. But Bailey, he needed that extra clean, incident-free point. So if that's got damage to the rear end, then he's not going to get that bonus point either.
So Bo Tiffany out to the lead now for Highline Racing. Has yet to come down pit road, and Max Service out there with him. Both those lead lap cars that were the last lead lap cars to come down pit road. And there's the 89 just behind him, desperately trying to get the lead to maybe lead a lap here.
Yeah, and that's something all those guys sitting from 6th back in the points is not wanting to see. But Bo's staying out, so we'll see how long these guys can go with 43 laps on their tires with fuel. They're going a little further than I thought they could. Whoa, Elsteris, wow.
Wow.
I don't think you could have fit a sheet of paper between those two cars.
Yeah, and here comes Benson. It just shows how much quicker these guys are on fresher tires here. And really close moment there. But they get through it cleanly nonetheless. Here comes Max Service as well as Bo Tiffany.
Yeah, and this is where those guys have to be real careful. With the guys on faster tires, along with the guys who are the guys with the faster tires, they got to worry about guys who are a little bit slower and coming up on them. I mean, I'm sure Drew didn't think he was going to be that close, but at those speeds, the closing rates are way different with somebody on way older tires than what you've got. That fresh rubber makes you very dangerous out there. I was kind of surprised to see Service come down there. I'm guessing 43 or 44 is the max. So I'm sure he was looking for that extra point. I'm sure he was hoping Tiffany would go down and give him a lap, but I don't think they're on team together, right? So
no.
Maybe Tiffany's trying to help out a different teammate.
Well, that's going to cycle the lead back out to Jacob Manning here, and this will be his first official lap led of the night for that number 50 machine. And that little 3-lap undercut of Seth Reed has put him out to a 3.7 second lead. So a healthy gap. We'll see how long it takes Seth Reed to possibly run down this 50. So, yeah, that's kind of separated the field up quite a bit here. Tristan Bailey, 6 seconds back there. Ballesteros, 7.5. Kyle Benson, 9 seconds back. And that's a difference of 3 laps there.
Yeah, and Bailey made out perfectly on that one. I mean, he's up to what will eventually, or he's going to be 3rd, but Manning taking the lead. He pit 3 laps before Reed did. Bailey pit 1 lap before Reed did. So, I mean, 3.5 seconds, that's a pretty good lead for Manning, but as fast as Reed was, I mean, he was almost out to a second lead on Manning before Manning pitted. So, can Reed run him back down? This is where I think the short pit strategy comes into play for Manning. And he saw that this time. So does he short pit again? I would think so. You made up, 3.5 seconds or 4 seconds on Reed to get out in front of him, and you took the lead with pitting 3 laps early. If you can be within your window to make this another one stop and be done, then I would definitely focus on that. He's got 10 laps on his tires, so what is that? Another 30, 80. Yeah, he's going to be within the window for one more stop if he goes the same amount that he did last time.
Yeah, so that's Jacob Manning up there ahead of him. You can see him out his front windshield here. He just passed the lap down car there, I believe, of Chris Bishop. Actually, that might have been somebody else that's already lapped down. I think that's Danny Dow in the 21 machine. But yeah, Seth Reed, you can see the gap. But I think that's got to be concerning for Seth Reed because he knows that Jacob Manning was running him down late in the run. He's saving his stuff and probably doing the same right now with Justin Rideout, probably really heavily in the ear of the 50, just telling him to manage his stuff here, waiting for Seth Reed to get on by, but knows that once his stuff does click and maybe he has a little more grip late in the run, he's going to be able to be right there with it, Reed, and possibly get by him here by the end of this green flag run.
Yeah, I mean, Reed's got to be focusing on hitting every lap perfectly. That 1 second gap that he had back to Manning before Manning short pitted him to go out or to come out of the pits after staying out, 3 laps longer and come out to a 3.5, 4 second deficit. He's going to pay attention to how many laps it takes him if he can catch Manning, because he's going to have to figure that out for the next time. Does he split what he did this last time with going 3 extra laps? Does he pit on 2 laps? Does he pit on 1 lap after Manning and cut that deficit a little bit more so that Manning can't get that far out in front of him? And then Manning's got to be, having JW or Justin Rideout right in his ear as well, saying, hey, you short pitted him by 3 laps. We've got to pay attention to when he pits this time so that you can be either in front of him or after him, somewhere right around him, and keep that lead out there. If Jacob pits the same lap as Reed, there's not much Reed can do for the gap. So this is where Reed's going to have to undercut Manning.
Well, with not much happening out there on the track, literally not any battles whatsoever, we're going to go ahead and step aside, run a quick commercial break, and maybe by the time we get back, Seth Reed will be knocking on the 50s door. Don't go anywhere.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today. Maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
Well, we are back, and we've been watching this lead shrink and shrink and shrink for Jacob Manning. Seth Reed now just 0.6 of a second back of our leader.
Yeah, and I'm starting to think Manning is definitely conserving. He's lost a ton of time the last couple laps, and a lot of it was like a tenth or two in the turns. So he was losing almost half second to a second gap. I don't know if you can pull up that gap machine or whatever you got.
Gap machine. I like that. Let's go ahead and pull up the gap machine. Let me get it queued up here and bring it up. We'll show the last 5 laps here as they cross the lap here again. But, yeah, big-time gains for 81.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of time. So I think you and I were discussing there on the break, and I would definitely agree that Manning was backing it off there. And is that so that he can make it to the same time frame that Reed wants to pit? I don't know. Was he conserving to where when Reed gets to him, he'd have some extra rubber or fuel to be able to keep him behind him? That could be possibly a strategy. I don't see any other reason to slow up and let the guy catch you, but what would you have done, Greg? I almost feel like I would have just kept my foot in it and tried to extend as far as possible and stay on the same pit strategy that I was in, because clearly it worked. Reed was the one who was going to have to switch strategies.
I'm actually liking the strategy that Jacob Manning has played right here, and it kind of threw me for a loop for a second, but he's going to make this car really wide. I think you hit the nail on the head right there with just kind of assuming that maybe he's saving his stuff a little bit. He knew that the 81 was going to catch back up, but these are big-time gains here, especially this late in a run. And now look at that. Manning putting it on a little bit, and Reed not closing any of that last lap.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do that. I just feel like if he was that far out in front, and if he could keep his foot into it, he's gonna have to pit at least 3 laps before Reed. Even if they do both run it completely out, Manning's gonna have to pit 3 laps before him because he's on a 3-lap deficit for the strategy he pulled earlier, which got him the 3.5-second lead. So I almost feel like I would have kept my foot in it and make Reed short pit me, and then pit the next go round so that Reed doesn't get those 3 laps that I got last time. That's where I would have been with it, but that's why I'm in here in the booth and not in the driver's seat.
Yeah, you're probably right about me too. I haven't been in the driver's seat all season long. We're just 56 races in the book, and it's just crazy to think that this season 3 here in SRN is almost wrapped up, and it has been a wild season to say the least. A lot of new names, one of which we're seeing right here lead this race, Jacob Manning out in front. But a lot of new winners here this season, and it's just a lot of new excitement for Season 4. I'm excited to kick it off. Not any official plans just yet, but working behind the scenes, I can tell you there is definitely a ball in motion. So they're getting it together, and I'm sure the details for Season 4 will be out here shortly. Curtis, you're going to be joining us again next season. It's going to be a good one. Curtis, I'm not hearing you. If you're,
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yep, I was on mute. So yeah, I was all excited to tell you that I was happy to come back for another season. I'm looking forward to seeing it from the start of the season rather than coming in mid-season and seeing a bunch of guys with wins already and not knowing what happened earlier in the season without going back and watching every single race. But I think it's gonna be fun. I've really enjoyed the Xfinity cars. I know a lot about them, and I think as long as my buddy who wants to be in the booth with me says yes too, then I think it's gonna be an awesome show.
Yeah, so a lot to still be hashed out, but definitely going to be a good one here, and a good one happening right now. And Curtis, I think we were right. Manning starting to put a little distance on Reed here.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be the right strategy. Like I said, if he had a 3.5-second lead, I'd have kept that 3.5-second lead and gone out here and try to push it as hard as you could, because Reed was going to push it as hard as he could to catch him. So that's where I would have probably said, well, you know what? If you're going to push it as hard as you can to get to me, I'm going to push it as hard as I can to stay away from you and not let him get within distance. So, because this could have went the wrong way. He could have caught him and blew right past him, even though Manning might have thought he saved enough. So that would have been kind of defeating to go from a 3.5-second lead, give the time back to the guy chasing you, let him get to your bumper, and then think you have enough tire saved by doing that, and the guy blows the doors off you and then leaves you in the dust. That would have been massively defeating if that was the case. Luckily, that's not what's happening. He's sticking with him. I think I would have stuck with a 3.5-second lead.
I don't know, though. I disagree, just for the fact that for a fact that if you stick with that 3.5-second lead, you're going to be burning those tires off one way or another.
So was Reed, though. Reed was going to have to run them down.
I don't know. He had
that's what I'm saying.
Tires. I still think it's a game.
He'd have really had to work it to get to him. If Manning was putting the laps down, but wasn't burning his stuff off, was not massively conserving like he did, where he gave up almost 2.5 seconds in 5 laps. If he would have just been semi-conserving and not really trying to hurt his tires and made Reed run him down to burn his stuff off, he'd have probably been in the same boat where he's at now, maybe. But I just feel like if you got, I don't know. That's why I probably were in the booth.
Look, man, one way or another, he's still out in the lead, and he's pulling away from the 81 now. So he didn't have it before they pitted, and he got it after, and he's held on to it ever since. And it's an important lead to have because Manning is that driver sitting there below the cut line, 8 points out. He sees the bad night that Max Service is having down there in 12th. It's a time to pounce and maybe kick Max Service out of the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Manning only needs to make up enough points to get past Max Service or one of the other two that's right in front of him. Benson, obviously, is sitting there in 6th. He's not going to catch him.
Larch is in 5th.
And
Reed
Larch is in 5th, so he's got to have Service continue to fall down. But if Service keeps coming up the list, that's going to make it tighter and tighter. And, yeah, Manning's got the bonus point for leading a lap, but he's going to have to hope that Service stays out of the top 6.
Yeah, right now back there in 12th, 20 seconds behind our leader, Jacob Manning. So Max Service has rebounded nicely. Before that round of pit stops was running around 16th or 15th. Currently up to 12th, but nobody really around him here. So, yeah, we'll see if he's able to move up a few more spots.
Looking good, though. I mean, looking at the tower over there, there's still a lot of green, only 2 red. So this is the last race of the 3rd round. We've got to have only 5 go into the championship. It's still 8 guys in this top 10, and only 5 of them are going to move on. So you're not going to be able to make up very many points if all the guys you're racing against are sitting here with you, and that's what's been happening every week.
Well, we saw it get shaken up quite a bit last night at the end of the Truck Series race. That we saw a few heavyweights go home and not move on to the final round in Homestead. So definitely still some time for that to be possibly had here tonight. But we're nearing those last pit stops here as we currently turn lap number 74. Not much action happening out there on the track. Seth Berger trying to run Tristan Bailey down for 3rd here.
Yeah, and I still see our good buddy Kazi still sitting on pit road. He's now 71 laps down, so that's going to put him officially the last, 20 laps ago, out of any contention to be able to make it in. So I'll be looking forward to seeing what Kazi can do next season. I'm sure he's going to come in with a vengeance for this one. Even though he's that happy-go-lucky guy when he gets on the mic, I think this one might leave that sour taste, just like you said with Reed coming in this season. So we'll see what Kazi can do next season. I'm excited to see all the moves he can make. He won a few races this season. Can he win more next season? Who's going to come back? That's the other question, too, for the roster and the lineup for Xfinity. Who's still going to be here? Who's going to leave? You know, there's always a little bit of fall off from guys leaving or new guys coming in, things like that. So, wow, they got close to that car.
Really tight racing right there as they go by Chris Bishop. But, yeah.
These two were not letting off for that car at all.
No, this is a position that Bailey needs to keep, and you see Bishop get into the wall a little bit back there. Michael Arch behind him now. But Bailey knows, even though he knows it's a long shot, and I don't even think it's mathematically possible with the small field here tonight, but he's still trying to go for it here tonight, trying to get that win, even though he's 5 seconds
The other
back.
thing, though, is team. So that's what I said before. I think he's mathematically out. There's no way he can possibly get as many points as he needs, especially with not getting the pole. He hasn't led a lap yet. He's not going to lead the most laps, and he's got the damage on his back bumper, so he ain't getting that bonus point either. So the only points left for him is just first and the win bonus points for that. There's no mathematical way I can see it. I'm not a mathematician, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this one. But he's still battling for the team, and that's why I say major respect to him. He's still pushing everything he can. I've said it for the last few weeks that he needed somebody else to step up, and now Benson's been doing it. He's been stepping up, but Bailey's had bad races, so now he's going to have to make good on what I said needed to happen here, and he stepped up. So you put 2 Murray Reedy guys in the top 5 now, with Bailey being 2nd, Benson 5th. They got to keep up with Manning and Larch, and Ballesteros is there in 6th, so they really need another player to jump up here and help them.
Well, take a look at what we just saw on pit road. Seth Reed attempting the undercut. Jacob Manning saying not so fast. He's going to bring it right down pit road.
They did exactly what I said would happen.
Yeah, so Seth
I
Reed.
knew. I said it. Manning had to short pit, or not short pit, but he had to run it out as far as he could with Reed and let Reed try to short pit him and come around the next lap and pit.
Well, Manning bringing a few others down too. Kyle Benson, Drew Ballesteros coming down as well here. And yeah, so that's going to cycle the lead out to Seth
Oh, is
Berger.
that Bailey leading?
Bailey
Or is
just
it
got
Berger?
passed by Berger. Yeah, so
Oh, there goes
Berger.
Bailey's bonus point for leading a lap.
Yeah, he didn't even get an attempt there to lead the lap. Larch right there. So this is the battle for first right now.
You know Bailey's wanting that bonus point just to say I got the bonus point, but yeah, I think Manning did it right there. That's what I was saying before. Is I would have, I mean, he still accomplished the same goal, but I would have probably, stayed out there and pushed it as hard as I could and made Reed chase me down, and then as soon as Reed pitted, I'd have pitted. So he did half of that, but he's going to come out a little bit behind Reed, and this is what I was worried about with Reed being so close to him. If Reed undercut him by that one lap, that's not a huge amount of difference in the tires. But if Reed does get out in front of him, it's going to be hard for Manning to pass him because that's where Reed was before the first green flag stop. That Manning jumped him by 3.5 seconds. So this is what I was kind of worried about with Reed being within a second from him. If he short pitted him even for one lap, it puts him possibly to be in front of Manning. And I mean, we've seen Reed run away from cars. So it's going to take Manning really pushing it to get there. Does Manning really want the win, or is he just paying attention to the points? You know Justin's looking at the points right now saying, all right, you're in second, or you're going to be in second after this thing cycles through. The guy you're chasing, he's back there and wherever he was, 10th or something like that. So right now you're in the good. Need another position if you can get it, but you're good right now. They're going to be counting that all the way to the last lap.
Well, Max Service now out in front of this thing, and I am not sure. It was very close as he crossed the stripe to pass Michael Larch, who was on pit road. Not sure if he led that lap here, so the 89 still might be without that bonus point. We'll see if he stays out here, and he will. So the 89 will get that much-needed bonus point here, not what Jacob Manning wants to see.
Yeah, he stayed out 3 or 4 laps further than Reed did the last go-round, and he's only on 37-lap old tires right now. So if he still goes to the 43, 44 mark, he's still got another 6 laps of fuel to stay out there on track. It's going to get him some more laps. He's got the bonus point. I don't think I would stay out once I got the bonus point because that's really what he was hunting for, to give him a little bit extra breathing room. I would probably pit now and just let it cycle through.
He's still out there, turning lap number 84 now as Nathan De La Rosa goes on by to unlap himself. So 11 cars now on the lead lap, led by the 89 of Max Service. We're nearing that 25 laps to go mark.
Manning side by side with the leader, or with Reed.
And so this will be the battle for the lead here. But Manning holding off Reed there on the inside lane. He's going to slide up in front of him here. Nose to tail all the way down to turn number 3. Looks like that 50 still got some good speed here, but the Reed machine is going to be really pressing him to wear that stuff out on the 50.
Yeah, and if Manning ends up winning this thing, I'll definitely eat some more crow. I've had it before at a hunting camp before. It was mystery meat, so we had to guess what it was, but I'll definitely eat some more crow if Manning wins or ends up winning this because he did half the strategy that I was talking about. I just didn't think he should back up to Reed, but he's back out in front of Reed, and when this thing cycles through, he's going to be the leader. He's probably closing in on Reed's lap total for lead laps to where he could pass him if he leads the rest of this race here. So that could definitely help him and counter Service's extra bonus since he did get a lead lap bonus point. Manning's already got that lead lap bonus point, so that's really what Service was concerned with, I think, is kind of taking away that extra point that Manning already got.
Are we just going to gloss over the fact that you just said you were given mystery meat at a camp and it was crow?
Yeah, we there's a hunting camp that I belong to, and every year they do it's like a cook-off, and you bring all kinds of different things. People bring deer, bear, moose, elk, stuff like that. But then every year they have one, like 3 or 4 pies that they'll make or something, a stew, whatever it is, and it's called mystery meat. And at the end, once you went through the line, if you took a piece, you wrote down what you thought it was after you ate it, and you stuck it in a container, and whoever guessed it won the prize money. So,
well, what'd you guess?
I don't even remember what I guessed. I don't think I guessed crow, but because I never would have guessed on crow. So, but they've had, I mean, like boar's meat in there. They've had grouse. They've had simple things that you would never think. Armadillo was in it one year. They've had Roadrunner, where they've, I guess, gotten Roadrunners from Texas or something, and it took a whole bunch of them because they're itty bitty. But yeah, they just plucked the feathers off of them and put the meat in the stew, and that's what it was. And people were guessing, but it's been all kinds of different stuff.
Very interesting. Well, Max Service coming down pit road finally with 22 laps to go. He's going to pit it from first. Leave Bo Tiffany out there to lead a lap here in that 13 machine. And once he comes down for his final stop, that will cycle the lead out to Jacob Manning, who's put a little bit of distance between him and Seth Reed, about a second.
Yeah, in Service pitting right now, this actually might be a good strategy for him, running it longer than everybody else. He's going to be on fresher tires compared to everybody else when he does come back out. This should be the last pit stop unless we have some unforeseen caution that happens or something. But Service is going to have the fresher rubber, so he's going to be able to try to make his way back up into the top 10. And that's what he has to do to stay with Manning's point total. With him already getting the bonus point and then Service countering it with another bonus point as well, he's got to try to get up in there. And I think he's really got to get to the top 5 to stay within Manning with the bonus points that Manning's probably going to get. Because I'm pretty sure he's been clean all race. So he's going to get the clean bonus point. And I think Service was in the first wreck, right? Yep. So he's not getting it. So he's got to counter everything Manning's doing for points. He's got to try to counter it or be close enough that those points won't matter.
Yeah, so Max Service is still a lap down, too, at the same time. 28 laps to go. That's a lot to handle here to make up enough spots and maybe move on to the final round here in Homestead. But still, anything can happen. It's not a guarantee yet that Jacob Manning is going to come away and win this thing. Seth Reed still lurking just over a second behind here with 19 laps to go. So with that, with green flag pit stops all wrapped up, we're going to take one more final commercial break here and come back with the last remaining laps here before we go to Homestead and go championship racing. Silverback Tax Solutions specializes in dealing with IRS tax problems. If you are receiving threatening letters from the IRS, or if the IRS has placed liens or levies on your property, Silverback Tax Solutions can help you find relief. We have worked with hundreds of people to resolve their tax problems. If you're behind on filing your taxes, it's never too late to get on the right track. Silverback Tax Solutions can help with that also. Don't let another night go by where you lose sleep worrying about the IRS or your taxes. Head over to www.silverbacttax.com or call 662-996-4357 and contact an enrolled agent today. We can help you gain peace of mind and deal with those problems for you.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Want to be a part of an established league on iRacing? A league that's competitive, fun, and above all fair? Look no further than Speed Racing Network. Originally known as Mid-South Madness, SRN has evolved into a league that can bring the best out in any given driver. Drivers work their way up through the ranks to hopefully one day call themselves a champion of Speed Racing Network. If you're interested in joining, don't hesitate to reach out to league admins to claim your spot today. Maybe you'll end up in the history books. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor in Speed Racing Network, feel free to head over to www.speedracingnetwork.com and reach out to an admin today. And as always, remember to go faster.
All right, well, we are back with 15 laps to go. Nothing changing out front except Jacob Manning pulling away a little bit, but we see that paint car creeping up into the picture. That's going to be Max Service, who is that driver that currently sits on the cut line, and with Jacob Manning sitting outside the cut line, it's go time for Service. He has got to be feeling the pressure, definitely staring down the very real possibility of missing out on this final race.
Yeah, and who was between Service and Benson? Was it Larch?
I'm honestly not sure. It might have been.
Yeah, it's Larch. Yeah, you just had it up on screen. It's Larch. So Larch is having a decent night. He's in 5th, but that's where you and I talked about on the break that we believe that Service is going to have to get to. If Manning wins this race, Service is going to have to get to about 5th or 4th or above it to really counter all the points that Manning's going to get tonight. And with Service being in that first incident, he's not going to get the bonus point for clean race. He did lead the lap, so that countered one of Manning's points, but if Manning winds up winning this race and gets all the other bonus points that he can grab besides the pole, he's got to counter all those points. So Service is going to have to be in the top 5 if he wants to move on. With Larch being in the top 5, with Berger being in the top 5, Reed being in the top 5, Benson in 10th, that's not going to be enough. Now, the other counter to that, though, is we're not paying attention to Benson. Service was only 3 points back from Benson. So if Benson falls out and or if Service gets in front of him by 4 positions, he's already led a lap. I don't think Benson did. So there's a point right there. So now he's 2 points back from Benson, technically. If Benson falls behind him and Service can get in front of him by 3 points, he's got Benson's spot. But that also moves Manning in, too.
Well, let's go ahead and add him to the mix as well, bringing up the track map here. That's Max Service coming around turns 3 and 4. 52 is coming around the backstretch, so the 89 has about 3/4 of the track to go around and catch that 52 with 11 laps to go. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but you're right. Not as big a gap between the 89 and the 10. I still don't like the chances for Max Service right now, though. Going to need a caution and some help here late in this thing. So heading back out front, as there is really no battles to be had right now. It's just Jacob Manning trying to tick off these last 10 laps, going by the 15 here of Daniel Keith Jr.
Now, I know we're talking about this with Benson and Service, but Service is running 2 to 4 tenths faster laps than Benson, and he's closing in on him. He was about 10 seconds. He's now 6.5 seconds back from Benson. He's got 2 lap fresher tires than Benson, so this could come into a play where if he gets in front of Benson by a couple positions, it's going to come down to a point or 2 separating those guys for the 5th spot, because Manning, I have a feeling, is going to be in. Because like you said and I said, I don't think Service can get up to the top 5 to get to what he needs to be able to counter all the stuff Manning's doing. But this also puts Manning out in front of Benson right now in the points, because Benson's back in 11th. So he's continuing to fall, and he's actually closing even more now. He's 5 seconds back.
Yeah, Kyle Benson just lost a spot too. There's Brandon Domain went by, so Benson now back to 11th. Max Service now up to 13th as he goes on by Zach Deutscher back here. So Service,
it's going to be close on this.
Yeah, Service and Benson getting closer and closer, but only 8 laps to go. He's not going to like the fact that he doesn't have much time to maybe run him down. Maybe stayed out a little too long.
I mean, he's coming. He's 5 seconds now. I don't know if he can get there, because it's only 7 laps to go. He's gonna have to gain a second a lap to get past him and past maybe Brandon Domain and Matthew Robinson. That would give him, with the bonus point for leading a lap, 3 points. That would tie him with Benson. But I think Benson would move on, if I'm not mistaken, based on the rest of the stats that they look at. But it could get really interesting if Service somehow can get past a couple guys in front of him. If a caution comes out, I would look for Service to be one of the most aggressive drivers in the last couple laps.
Oh, absolutely. I think we'll see a lot of aggression out here, as a lot of these guys know it's crunch time, and they see Manning out there in the lead, possibly with the most laps led. Don't have those official numbers right in front of me, but a lot of sunlight right in his eyes there as he exits turn 4. Comes to the stripe to see the flag man showing him 5 laps to go. So he's going to hope this thing stays green. He's got a healthy lead over Seth Reed there, 2.2 seconds.
Service just ran 7/10 faster than Benson.
I just don't think there's enough time, even if he does catch Benson.
No,
I mean, you got to look
if
at
he
the
catches
guys
him, he's
ahead of
got to
him.
look at Domain and Robinson, and that's
And Robinson's 7
5.5
seconds.
seconds.
Yeah, out ahead.
Robinson's 7.
I think the 89's only saving grace at this point is a caution. And 4 laps to go. Running out of time for that to happen, especially with how separated the field is. I mean, back here, Tristan Bailey, Larch here with Seth Berger just in front of him. This is the closest battle, and I mean by a lot. No other cars within a second of each other on the track. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th here really battling it out.
Yeah, and I like the Ballesteros. Like I've been saying for a little while, he continued to show up, even though he didn't make it on to the next round. He's still here. He's still battling for that second chance championship. And we could look at a situation here where JW Racing could win the overall championship with Manning if he's able to do it. And then Ballesteros could win the second chance championship. So you could have 2 drivers from JW Racing sweeping the 2 possible championships. That's where we're at right now, and that's not counting out Larch. He's there. If he can make it to the championship, anything can happen.
Make it.
Yeah, so anything can happen in that situation. But you're gonna have 3 drivers battling for 2 championships.
He came in with a 9-point gap, sitting 5th. He's going to make it right now if it stays, and Larch will upset this field here. Not taking anything away from him, but he was definitely not favored to come into this Final 5. But with a little bit of bad luck for a few of these guys, he's pounced on the opportunity and 2 laps away from running for $500 in Homestead. But right now, all eyes on this 50 of Jacob Manning as he rounds turns 3 and 4, comes off of 4 to see that white flag waving. 1 lap to go here in Kentucky.
Manning's going to be happy about this victory. He did everything he needed to do tonight. Collected as many points as he possibly could get besides the pole. And he's going to move himself in. I know we talked to him last week. He was a little down in the interview process, but I think he's going to be excited when he comes into this one.
Well, from dead last to dead first, came in 17th last week. Below the cut line coming into Kentucky. He's going to win it here in Kentucky, and I believe he is going to be racing for $500 in Homestead once we have those official numbers. Your winner tonight, Jacob Manning out of JW Racing.
Big shout out for Jacob Manning coming back, not letting last week put him in the dumps, and he comes out this week and wins. And got to give him hats off. He did everything he needed to do to get into the championship. He's been one of the drivers to watch all season long with being really consistent, winning races. We looked at one point where there was 5 drivers in the top 5 in the points, and those 5 were swapping wins back and forth. So he's really pushed it, and we talked about Larch too. He's benefited from Kazi and Bailey having some mishaps on track, but congratulations to him for making it as well.
Yeah, so I think that is unfortunately going to put Max Service as the odd man out of this one, and I think his championship hopes are going to be dashed after a 13th place finish here. The lowest remaining driver that was out there on the track, Joseph Causey, coming home in 20th after an early caution
Out
here.
there driving backwards on the track.
And he's going to put that from his teammate Ryan Johnson, who does that on Wednesday nights when he brings it home. And it's just good to see, man. We saw Manning just kind of dominating there at the beginning part of the season and really towards the middle portion. But once the playoffs, it was kind of a different Jacob and kind of submitting to the pressure a little bit, but overcomes it here in Kentucky. And look at him. He's basking at this right now.
Yeah. He's looking like Toe Mater out there right now driving backwards. There ain't no mirrors on those things like that, so he's using everything he's got to go around this track backwards. It takes some skill to do that.
Well, I can hear the car, too. And
just wound up.
Yeah, if you guys can hear that, this thing probably will not last much longer. I'm surprised it's gone this long as well, but he makes it around the whole lap. And
flames coming out the exhaust. Hitting the rev limiter.
I think that is going to do it for our Jacob Manning, our winner here tonight. And nope, he's not done. Your TJ's team winning moment
Might
here.
as well burn it down.
Check them out at morethanAcape.org. So let's head up to the blimp, why don't we, We got some numbers to crunch here behind the scenes while Jacob continues to celebrate his hard-fought victory here tonight. Let's bring up that top 20 finishing order here. Jacob Manning, your winner here by 2.5 seconds over Seth Reed out of Highline Racing. Seth Berger going to round out the final podium position there. Tristan Bailey comes home in 4th. Michael Larch rounds out the top 5.
And Drew Ballesteros comes home 6th. Logan Truitt 7th. Nathan De La Rosa 8th. Matthew Robinson 9th. Brandon Domain top 10 finish. Good night for him. Zach Duscher or Kyle Benson comes home 11th, and I think he's going to squeak into the playoffs with that. Zach Duscher 12th. Max Service made it up to 13th. He made it to within about a second of Benson, but just ran out of laps to get there. He's going to wind up finishing 13th. Lepicki 14th. Bo Tiffany 15th, and Daniel Keith 16th.
Yeah, Chris Bishop, Danny Dow is 17th, 18th. We'll just go through the rest of the field. Josh Marcy, 19th. Joseph Causey, DNF tonight. He comes home in 20th, and he is eliminated from the playoffs here in the Xfinity Series. And Taylor Smith never took the grid here. He is going to be your 21st place driver. So that's a look at your field here this evening. Let's go ahead, track down some post-race interviews, bring Seth Berger on up into the booth. Seth, it's Greg Olenek, Curtis Wadsworth. Congratulations on the 3rd place run here. Kind of ran up through the field, up from 9th. But you were feeling pretty comfortable coming into this thing with your 21-point lead. How's it feel to finally get to Homestead, man? How are you feeling about your chances?
Oh, it feels great. With practice, I was extremely slow, so I knew I was pretty safe points-wise. So I was telling my spotter Devin, like, hey, man, like, we're gonna be happy with 10th place. Like, that's all we need. And then we just save tires and then pick our way through the field. And luckily, it worked out great and got 3rd. And so 3rd feels like a win to me, honestly. Who knows? Even if I got better qualifying, I might have even had a shot at the win. And I sucked at this track, in my opinion. But yeah, it's awesome to make the championship. Anything could happen in that race, and last season when I made it in Cup, I stressed myself out a lot, but I can already tell I'm just going to enjoy it a lot more this season, and who knows, maybe that'll help me perform a little better.
Well, Burger Nation's definitely proud of you tonight, coming home 3rd, making your way to the championship race to go to Homestead. We've talked about it week in and week out with you being a driver that seems to conserve and then come on late in runs. With as many green flag laps as you guys run, it seems to benefit you in doing that. A lot of guys don't save as much as you do, but they also are not at the front as much as you are either. So tonight it looked like you were on the same kind of strategy. You saved, conserved a little bit more than others, and then you really started picking people off late in the run and worked your way up here with the strategies. Going to Homestead, I have a feeling it's going to be really similar with that strategy. Have you run at Homestead? Are you any good at Homestead? And figured out a strategy or anything with the amount of laps you have to run here in SRN Xfinity? What are your chances, you think, coming home with a victory next week?
I definitely think there's a strong chance of coming with a victory next week. I do like Homestead. It's not one of my best tracks, but I like it, and I'm pretty decent there. I like ripping the wall there, so hopefully I could do that consistently there. Pull a Tyler Reddick line there or something, but yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome next week. I'm gonna enjoy it a lot.
I mean, Greg, the man says he did not like Kentucky. He completely sucked tonight and comes home 3rd. Then you talk about a track that he says he's not the best at. It's not his favorite track, but he's pretty good at it. I mean, 3rd on a crappy night, that sounds like an automatic win to me.
Yeah, and I mean, with 2 chances at a championship next week at Homestead, he's also competing for it in the Cup Series. He's going to have a good week next week. A lot of fun to be had. Good luck next week, Seth. Before we let you go, you got any friends, any family, any sponsors you want to give a quick shout-out to?
Shout out to Berg_Arts on most media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Actually, I got a YouTube video up there, posted a while ago. I will have a new video coming up for the new drop. Like I said, make sure you are following. There will be a giveaway when this new drop is ready to come out. Waiting on some edits. Should be done pretty soon. Shout out to Burger Nation for watching tonight. I'm so glad I got you guys into the championship race in both series. Hopefully it's exciting next week and have strong runs at both of them. I just want a chance. Also, shout out to Bergeson Farms, Bus Security, Kieran Dental, Hunter Don Anesthesia, Park Brothers Racing, Parkway Lanes, Teespring, Healthcare Billing Incorporated, EWL, on all my tank racing teammates. It's like family there. Super supportive, and thanks to you guys.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it. We hope to see Burger Nation in full force next week. That chat room better be swamped with fans. So get to practice it, man, and have a lot of fun. And like you said, just enjoy the moment, man. You've earned it this season.
Thank you.
All right, so that was
like a speech. Like he had that written down to go through all that stuff.
Like he said, he wasn't too worried coming into this thing with the gap that he had. So let's go ahead, bring up the other guy that probably wasn't too worried about it with the gap he had coming into this one. Seth, it's Greg Olenek and Curtis Swatsworth up here in the booth. P2 tonight, strong car in that 81. And this season, you're racing for $500. It's official, man. Congratulations. You're going to Homestead as one of the final 5 drivers. How's it feel?
Man, feel good. Had to put together a good playoff run, just trying to stay out of trouble, and tried to do that today. I didn't expect to have the speed I did. Kentucky is usually like I'm usually average here, to be honest with you. Like last year, I think I was top 10 car. I was pretty much expecting the same thing here, and got into practice, and I was top of the board. So I was like, all right, let's try to get the win.
Oh, Reed, we've talked about it the last several weeks of watching you race, and you're usually really fast coming out of the gate. And you said last week that you listen to the broadcast every week about conserving tires and not going out and burning yourself off. It looked like you went out a little harder than everybody in the beginning of this thing. You got out to a good lead. Manning short pitted you and took a 3.5, 4 second lead, and you ran him back down. How surprised were you that he came back to you so quickly? And were you thinking he was trying to save? Because when you got to him, then you couldn't get around him. So it was almost like he did it on purpose. He let you get to him and conserved tire. And then you tried to short pit him, and he came down the next lap. I mean, were you that shocked when he came back to you like that?
No. The fall off here is pretty substantial. I honestly expected to fly by him, but once I got like a second back, that front end I just lost the front end, and I think 2 corners in a row I just cheese graded the right front, and then I got a little bit closer to him, and then I just like tapped the wall coming out of 4. Gave me like 12 seconds of damage, and I still tried. I figured he'd come in the lap after me when I short pitted. I just didn't get into the pit road as strong as I wanted to. Just trying to be conservative and not shoot myself in the foot, pretty much, and keep the momentum going in the next week instead of finishing 15th a lap down, having to serve a pit road speeding penalty.
Well, speaking of next week, how are you feeling about next week's Homestead race with the guys that made it into the playoffs? You were one of them with Berger, Larch, Manning, and Benson officially.
Berger, Larch. All right, it's gonna be a tough race, that's for sure.
You guys all finished in the top 6. So
yeah,
top 10.
It's gonna be a challenge, that's for sure. Homestead's probably one of my better tracks, to be honest with you. I love it fits my style. Like usually the 1.5 D shapes, it's like an equalizer for everyone with me. But like if you look at all the weird shaped tracks, like I feel like I've exceeded at those this year. I usually find something, and that's like a semi-oddly shaped track versus being the traditional D oval. So I'm ready for it.
Well, man, we're ready to see you get out there too and race for that championship, man. Best of luck. Go ahead. I'll be out there rooting for you as always, and get to practicing, man.
Oh, don't worry, I will.
All right, Seth. Take care.
You too. Bye.
All right, that was our runner-up, Seth Reed, here tonight. He comes home in P number 2, and it will be racing for that $500 prize in Miami. But let's go ahead and get to the man of the hour and bring Jacob Manning up to the booth. Jacob, it's Greg Olenek and Curtis Swatsworth. Good to talk to you, man. Been a little while since we've seen you here in Victory Lane, but you pull it off at just the right time. And not sure if you've seen the news or not yet, but my man, you're going to be racing for $500 in Homestead. You get in after being 8 points out coming into this race.
Let's go. Oh, man. That kid, there is no better win. I mean, unless you're winning the $500, I guess. But I put so much pressure on myself this week. I wanted it really bad. I wanted to get in and at least have a chance at racing for it. I didn't want to let my team, or anyone down. I really wanted it. And I was 8 points out. I knew it was gonna be tough, but I I put in the work. I practiced. I think I ran like 1,000 laps or something this week. I was going for it. I was trying to do everything I could, and I guess it paid off. But shoot, I'm gonna have to do that again another week. Take off a bunch of work and keep doing that because I guess I'm in.
Well, Jacob, when you go back and listen to this broadcast, you're going to hear me talking about your strategy, and I'm going to have to eat some crow, I think. But I'm going to guess, because I don't think Reed was able to catch you that fast without you doing it on purpose. So I'm going to guess that you were slower after that second green flag stop, and you allowed him to get to you, and you conserved enough tire to when he did run you down, trying to run as fast as he possibly could and running, burning his tires off. When he got to you, you just pulled away from him and he could not stay with you. I'm guessing that was on purpose. If it wasn't, then that was just blind luck. But if I'm assuming you're good enough to know that was probably on purpose. But what made you back up to him?
I kind of always run like that where I'm trying to save the tire. I don't want to eat it up and then get eaten up by the guys behind me on the long run. So I was really saving, and he was pushing his stuff to get there. I mean, he was 3-lap nearer tires, but I wasn't making it easy for him to get to me. And then out of nowhere, he started gaining multiple tenths a lap. And I was like, that's fine. He's just going to have to burn his right front up to get to me. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but coming out of 4 one of them times, I crossed him up just right where he couldn't quite see the wall as well coming out of the corner, and he tapped it a little bit, and I think that's when it was ultimately done for him, unless he was going to short pit me, which he did, and that was the thing he had to do. And I was just lucky enough to get by him as early as I did and not have to burn up my stuff. And got even more lucky with no cautions coming out. I mean, that was going through my head the entire last run is, all right, when's this caution coming out? When's it going to happen? What am I going to do when it does? And I got lucky and it didn't. And somehow the other guys that I was trying to beat got unlucky or had some unfortunate stuff happen to them, and now I'm in. And it was on purpose, kind of it wasn't, but I got played out my way.
In my head, I was thinking you're 3.5 seconds out on him. You got 3-lap older tires than he does, but he wasn't gaining a terrible amount or anything with those fresher tires. He was gaining a tenth or two here and there. He wasn't gaining like he was when you backed up to him. So my theory was put your foot to the floor and make him chase you down and burn his stuff off to get to you. Even if you burned your stuff off, he was still going to have to burn his stuff to get to you. And then make him change his strategy and short pitch you. And then as soon as he did, you pit. So you did half of what I was thinking, but the backing up scared me because I was like, oh God, I wouldn't back up to him and hope that I got enough rubber on these tires to hold him off. And, if he'd went right past you and you weren't able to run him down and he'd have won this race, it'd have been a lot closer between you and Service, who was making his way through the back half of the field. So I would have been like, wow, it would have been heartbreaking to me to see you, back up to him and him blow your doors off and just get away from you and win this race. So you made it work, though. You scared me a little bit up here in the booth trying to figure out what was going on. But I would have just put the foot to the floor and said, run me down. I'm 3.5 seconds in front of you. Burn your stuff off to get to me. I'm going to burn my stuff to keep away from you. I'm going to keep this 3.5 second gap. And then as soon as you pit, I'm pitting, and you ain't gaining any time on me.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm the kind of guy who likes to live in the uncomfort zone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I let him catch me and hope that I had the rubbers, and I guess I kind of did. So, I don't know. I might have to change something up next week. He got a little bit close there and made me a little bit uncomfortable.
He got to your back bumper, and that's when I was like, oh, God.
Yeah,
this strategy's not going to work.
He did what he could. He drove his ass off tonight. That was a good job by him, and I got a ton of respect for that guy. There's, if I was going to lose to him, it's only a few other dudes I'd rather lose to or would be okay with. I mean, I guess I'm not okay losing to anyone, but there's certain guys that you have a lot of respect for, and you're like, good win, good for you. But yeah, I had a ton of fun tonight. That was good. It got a little bit uncomfortable at some parts, but that, like I said, played out my way. I got lucky.
Yeah, well, regardless, you're moving on to Miami. Best of luck, and we'll see you next week battling for that $500. Take a couple days off and get to practicing, man.
That was the plan.
All right, buddy. Take care. Have a good night.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right, Curtis. That's it for the regular season, for the playoffs. It's one more race in the book time now, and that's the championship race where it's for all the marbles. Winner takes all. So let's go ahead and take a look at that championship 5 that's going to be battling for it out in Homestead. Seth Berger, Seth Reed. We knew they were moving on. Michael Larch is going. Jacob Manning, his JW Racing teammate, going to join him. And Kyle Benson edges in by 3 points. Max Service, Nathan De La Rosa, the playoff lucky dog, Logan Truitt, Tristan Bailey, and Joseph Causey all eliminated. So that is a look at your final 5. It's going to be a good one next week once we get out there at Homestead.
Yeah, top 5, 3 different teams getting in there with JW Racing getting 2 of the 5. So those 2 are going to have to work together, and they're going to have to count on Drew to help them as well, who's also leading that second-tier playoff standings. So there's 3 guys now for JW Racing who have a chance at least one of each of these championships. So it's going to be tough. Berger and Reed, they've been really hard to beat. Manning, he's another one right there. So Larch and Benson are going to have some really good races to keep up with these other 3. I don't know who's going to come out on top. I can't even look at the 5 and say guaranteed this guy wins or guaranteed this guy is going to be there at the end. I mean, all 5 of them can be, and it's Homestead. They can get loose in the corners. The bump coming out of the corner on 2, that's a tough one. You got to be in the right spot on the seam to get through there. You heard that Berger talking about rim riding, or Reed, one of the 2, talking about rim riding and Reddick line being up there at the wall. You've got 2-3 different lines you can run through this track. It's gonna be tough, but it's gonna be fun to call. I'm glad I'm not in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast once we get out there at Homestead, and this man's got to be feeling the best out of all of them. Jacob Manning, your winner here tonight. There's only one way to find out who is going to be our champion in all 3 series, and that is to come back next week. Same time, same place. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so you know exactly when we go live. I'm beside myself. I can't believe we're down to the final 3 races. Week number 20 coming up next week. So for myself, Curtis Swatsworth, and each and every one of our admins behind the scenes, we wish you guys a good night. Please come back next week, and as always, go faster.